This video I want to speak about competing with time. This topic, I thought about it when I was watching the Olympics and Usain Bolt running the 100-meter dash. And he won it again. This is his third time winning it in a row in 12 years. So he's known to be the fastest human being to live. And what I like about what he's representing and track and field in general is just running against time. You're running as fast as you possibly can, and you don't have to hurt anybody. You don't even have to race anybody. You're just racing against time. Essentially, you're trying to better yourself. It has nothing to do with the person next to you. You want to get the fastest time possible. And unlike combat sport, you don't have to touch the other person. You don't got to beat the other person. You don't got to put the other person in the hospital. It's not about the other person at all. It's about you, and it's about how fast you could run, from point A to point B. And to me, that's one of the healthiest ways to compete. Simply competing with yourself, competing against time, competing with, repetitions, with weight sets and the amount of weight that you could push. Like, these are all ways that I promote people to compete if they are to compete. Ultimately, it's best not to compete at all, but that's never going to happen. Everybody, we live in this world of competition, so people will compete. But if you're going to compete, then compete with yourself, compete with time, compete with perfection. Something, trying to get something that's unattainable. Like running the 100-meter dash, is impossible to do it against, in no time. It's impossible to run 100 meters in less than a second, or in a blink of an eye. I mean, no matter what, you can always get better, no matter where you're at. So you don't need Usain Bolt to tell you that. You don't need Usain Bolt to tell you that if you could beat his time, that the next goal could be try to get, finish the 100 meters in 9 seconds. And then after you could do that, what about 8 seconds? After you could do that, what about 7 seconds? I mean, you don't need any other human being to show you that you can improve. And you don't need to run next to somebody. You could run by yourself. You could time yourself. And that's the beauty of it. And somebody like Bruce Lee would just work on getting faster, work on getting stronger, and he would just demonstrate his techniques on film so you could visually see how fast he really was. The difference with him, though, is that you can't measure his speed. But with the track and field, it can be measured through time, through scientific instruments, scientific tools, to measure the exact time of how fast this individual was running. And the nice thing about it is that you could compare the times of each athlete decade after decade, century after century. So you could bring up the times and the results from athletes that lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And then you could compare, who was actually faster. Because you're comparing a unit of measure. But the problem with combat sport is, like, you got two wrestlers, one wrestler wins the gold medal, but then next time around he's going to be wrestling other people, or he might not even wrestle at all, and then you got these other wrestlers that are wrestling and they get gold medals. But you cannot compare one wrestler that never really wrestled with another wrestler that maybe passed away 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I mean, the problem with combat sport is there's just inconsistencies. There's no consistency, no consistent unit of measure, because human beings are constantly changing. And when you compete with another human being and there's no unit of measure, it's just an unreliable way of competition. And on top of that, it's just an unhealthy way of competition. I don't recommend this combat sport way of competing. No matter it be wrestling, boxing, MMA, Thai boxing, Taekwondo, point sparring, or whatever type of combat sport, I don't recommend any of it. But what I do like is something like the track and field. I like the weightlifting. I like the gymnastics a lot, where you got the gymnasts going up on stage or going up into their event, and they're just working on perfecting their routine. That's all they're doing. They're working on perfecting it. And these judges have gotten really good at scoring, each routine and marking down each imperfection to make it fair. And these events are being videotaped, and you could rewatch each routine in slow motion to make sure that the right score is given. And these gymnasts are just going up there by themselves. It's just all them, and what they're doing is essentially what martial artists do when it comes to combative forms. They demonstrate the forms to the best of their ability, and then they are assessed based on that. So the martial art forms is very similar to the gymnastics in that respect. And then Usain Bolt running as fast as he possibly can is similar to Bruce Lee demonstrating his kicking speed, his punching speed, doing choreographed fight scenes, showing his level of execution of speed and technique and skill. And then we can see how fast he is. So track and field is relatively, not just relatively, it's a peaceful sport. It's a peaceful way to compete, a healthy way to compete. Same thing with gymnastics. But when you're talking about gladiators fighting, cage fighters fighting, boxers fighting, wrestlers fighting, these are just unhealthy ways of competing. The unit of measure is never consistent. And on top of that, you don't even know if these fighters are actually trying their hardest. They could just be throwing the match. They could just be giving away the win. It could be severely corrupted. But when it comes to something like track and field, when Usain Bolt is running that fast, he's really running that fast. And you could see it right before your eyes. You time it and everything. You could see everything being marked. And everything could be measured and compared to people all over the world. You know, you could go right now, you could measure up how far 100 meters is, and you could run it yourself and then see if you could beat that time. You know, you could do that no matter where you're living, no matter what country you're living, no matter what time, because this is a reliable unit of measure. But when it comes to fighting, it's like, oh, this person could fight, but you don't know how well you could do in that fight against that person, because you'll never get the opportunity to fight that person, spar that person. You'll never. It's just all in your imagination. But when it comes to something like track and field, when it comes to something like gymnastics, you could right away at home, outside, you could try it to see if you could do it. You see somebody like Bruce Lee do like a 2-finger push-up. Right now, you could get down on the ground and see if you could do a 2-finger push-up. You see these gymnastics holding the iron cross and the rings. You could jump up in the rings right now and try to do it. You see Usain Bolt run 100 meters in 9.81 seconds. You could try right now to see if you could beat that. And that's just all like a way of motivating each other to achieve high standards in our physical fitness. It has nothing to do with, oh, you know, I see this fighter beat up this person, so let me try to see, I wonder if I could beat up this fighter, or I wonder, you know, or maybe I should go beat up some people myself to make myself feel like I'm talented. I mean, it's like you even see it with Muhammad Ali, you know. He was a great boxer, but then towards the end of his career, he just started getting old, started to become unathletic. He lost his speed, he lost his agility, he didn't have his reaction time anymore, and then the next boxer's just beating him to death. Like beating up on an old person. It's like you right now, healthy, strong, fit, and you go ahead and beat up your grandfather to make yourself feel good about yourself. It's just like the whole combat sport thing is just a disgrace to me. You know, to just have to beat people up to try to stroke your ego, to make yourself feel so good about yourself. It's like when you got something like track and field, something like Usain Bolt holding the world record for 100-meter dash. It's like you could have, by the time Usain Bolt is 80 years old, yeah, you'll probably be able to outrun him if you're young and fit, but why don't you try outrunning his world record? You know, because that's the real challenge. It's not about waiting until the person's old and unfit and then you beat them and then now you say you're the best. I mean, that's how all combat sport is. That's how boxing is and all that. It's like, oh, you know, let me just wait till the champion gets older and unfit, and then I'll beat him, and then now I'm the best. It's just, you're not the best. You know, you're just beating up on an old person. You're a young person beating up on an old guy, or you're a strong person beating up on a weak person. It's like, to me, that doesn't prove anything. You know, I just really dislike the idea of what combat sport represents. I mean, I understand martial arts and training, sparring to improve upon your skill sets and your reaction and preparing you to survive on the streets, preparing you for a real fight. I understand that, but that's not a competition. That's a scientific experiment. That's not a win or lose. That's not a gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal. That's not a championship heavyweight belt. That's not a trophy. That's just experimentation to simply see what works opposed to what does not work. It's like more, rather than a fight, is more like an aggressive dance. But people don't understand that. But I'm trying to bring the martial arts towards the peaceful way of demonstrating your skill and talent. Look at this Usain Bolt right now, one of the most famous athletes out there to ever live, one of the richest, and he didn't have to fight anybody physically. All he did was just run as fast as he possibly could, and he's gained the respect of the world. As much respect, if not more respect, than Muhammad Ali ever had, or Bruce Lee ever had, or any of these cage fighters ever had, or Dana White, or any of these Hollywood actors. I mean, all he did was just run as fast as he possibly could, gaining the respect of the world. And look at this gymnast, Simone Biles. All she did was just perform her athletic routine to near perfection. She didn't have to beat anybody up. She didn't have to stomp at anybody. She didn't have to choke anybody out, break anybody's arms. I mean, I highly respect her skill and talent. But somebody like a Ronda Rousey, I don't respect her. Or any of these fighters. It's just like beating people up, feeling so good about beating people up, and then when she finally gets beat up, then she's talking about, oh, I wanted to commit suicide. And it's just like, when it comes to athletes, we should not be setting athletes up to hurt each other purposefully, not just accidentally, but purposefully hurting each other. I mean, you got Usain Bolt running side by side against other, great athletes. Why will we pair up these great athletes and have them punch and kick each other in the face, or punch and kick each other until they land in a hospital? It's like, what type of society do we live in that promotes that type of behavior? It's like, do we not see enough violence on the streets already? Do we not see enough violence in Hollywood? That now we have to set up organized violence and mass promote it for the world to see. UFC fights all over the bars, cage fights, boxing fights. I mean, can we just evolve beyond this violent way of having athletes compete against one another? I mean, out of all the games in the Olympics, from the Summer Olympics to Winter Olympics, do we even need such a thing as boxing, wrestling, cage fighting? I mean, when people see Usain Bolt, it motivates young kids to want to run, to be fast like him. But when you see these cage fighters, we want our little children to be motivated to beat other people up for fame and attention as well. Not only beat other people up, but get themselves beat up, to one day want to commit suicide like Ronda Rousey did. To die early from CTE. Get our bodies demolished I mean, when people see somebody like Simone Biles, they want to get involved with gymnastics. You know, I mean, it's like getting involved in something where you could better yourself, not hurt other people, not hurt yourself, but at the same time, potentially make it to the Olympics, get worldwide fame, get the money, get the attention. I mean, that's what everybody wants. They want money, they want attention, they want fame, they want all of that. I understand that, but we have to go to the proper approach. You know, so I do highly, respect and admire these great athletes like Usain Bolt, Simone Biles, even Michael Phelps, encouraging people to swim fast like him, and he's competing against time. And then Simone Biles had an article where she's saying her greatest competition is herself, and Bruce Lee would say the same thing. You notice a common thread amongst these people: Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, Simone Biles, Bruce Lee. The way that they train is to better themselves. It really has nothing to do with the next person. The next person is just there just to show how great they are. That's why Bruce Lee needed other people in the movie, so he could just show how great he was at what he did. When you see somebody that's fast, considered to be a really fast person running side by side with Usain Bolt, then it really highlights how really fast Usain Bolt really is. You see a fast swimmer swim side by side with Michael Phelps, then you really start to see how really fast Michael Phelps is. The other person is just used as a tool to show, like, how developed you are in what you do. The other person's ego might be hurt, but physically they shouldn't be hurt. Like the Gatlin lost to Usain Bolt, but Usain Bolt didn't put a hand on him, didn't touch him, didn't beat him down, didn't do anything to him physically. This person just didn't run as fast. And just because he lost doesn't mean that he deserves to be in the hospital with the concussion, or knocked out, or have missing teeth, or a broken nose. I mean, that's the problem with these combat sports. It's like you're being encouraged to beat the living hell out of the person that you're sparring with or fighting with in order to get that medal. And it's like, to me, it's just a violent expression, not too different than somebody who's just beating you up for your money. He likes your car, he likes your money, so he wants what you got. So he's just gonna beat you down, possibly even kill you. Shoot and kill you to get your car. The car is representing that gold medal. Or that gold chain. It happens out in the streets all the time. You wear a gold chain, somebody else wants that gold chain, so he's just gonna beat you down, beat you with a bat, stab you with a knife, snatch that gold chain from you. So you got these two boxers fighting in the ring for that gold medal, beating each other down to get that gold medal. The cyclists, they just race side by side. They're not purposefully hurting each other. I think that all people that practice martial arts need to reevaluate how they choose to compete and what they do. Because if more martial artists make the conscious decision to be more peaceful with their expression in the martial arts, then it's going to represent the martial arts in a more positive way, rather than the first thing that pops in, when you mention martial arts, and then the first thing that pops into people's minds are people fighting in a cage. You know, blood spilled up everywhere, cauliflower ears, rashes, skin conditions, CTE, concussions, deaths in a cage, violent criminals, profanity, alcohol, drugs, steroids, betting money, prostitution. I mean, when you think about martial arts, you start thinking about that stuff. It's like, what is martial arts? What is this? Gang life? Is this the mob? I mean, is this the prison? It's like the first thing you start thinking about is all these negative things. Low class. Like the scums of society, if that's what you start thinking about, and that's what's being associated with the martial arts, to me that's very sad. You know what I mean? Like, when you think about like track and field, you think about like Usain Bolt, just a very, very talented, skillful runner. Think about gymnastics, you think about Simone Biles, skillful as athlete. It's like respect. Back in the day, you think about boxing, Muhammad Ali. But now, I mean, martial arts, it used to be Bruce Lee, but now, we've come from Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee 50 years ago, or about that time, to what we see now. It's sad. It's sad when things turn for the worst. When things are getting worse. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. That's sad. Technology might be getting better. Better cars, computers, phones. But the quality of art seems to be getting worse. And those of us who care about the martial arts can represent it in a different way, in a more positive way, to hopefully contribute towards a better, positive expression in the future. So I just want people to think about that, Think about it. For me, I love sparring, but it's very important to do it in a safe way and not to bring competition into it. It's simply a way to test out the techniques you've been training, to see what is effective, what's not effective. My way of testing myself is just testing my strength. Am I getting stronger pound for pound? And that has nothing to do with other people. It's just me in the pull-up bar, me in the push-ups, me in the bench press, me in the squats, me and just what I can do, with my body. How high I could jump, how fast I could run, how fast I could punch, how fast I could kick. It's just me and nobody else but me. And that's, to me, like the healthy way to push yourself towards greatness. It's never about me, let me go beat up this person. let me go beat that other person up. It's like, it's not about that at all. That's what separates, in my eyes, the martial artists from the fighters. Fighters are always looking to beat people up. Martial artists, they don't do that. Martial artists are more like Usain Bolt, Simone Biles, very talented in what they do, but they don't gotta physically hurt other people. Or Michael Phelps, right? It's like, that's what to me martial arts is like. Look at Usain Bolt, is like showing his speed. Bruce Lee was all about demonstrating his speed. Simone Biles is showing her flexibility and her strength. Bruce Lee was showing his flexibility and his strength as well. So that's what martial arts is like. It's beauty when you see that gymnast, when you see the Simone Biles, or whatever great gymnast out there. You're just in awe of what they could do with their bodies. And that's how people felt when they were watching Bruce Lee's movies. Like, wow, this person's super fit. He's fast. He can fight. It's entertaining. I could watch Usain Bolt, watch him run over and over again. It's entertaining. I could watch the gymnasts perform their routines. It's entertaining. That's okay to be entertained by that. But if you're entertained by watching the police officer die in the line of duty, you gotta question something about yourself. Like, there might be something wrong with you. If you're entertained, by watching two dogs fight and then them killing each other, you gotta question yourself. If you're entertained by, that person going into the nightclub and shooting up and killing everybody in the nightclub, and you wish you were there to see it all, you gotta question yourself. What I mean? Like, these boxers going at it, just destroying each other, killing each other. Then a boxer ends up dying in the ring. You gotta question yourself. Like, really. Because if you're entertained by watching other people die, watching other people get severely hurt, you gotta question yourself. But if you're a scientist and you're analyzing these videos in order to determine like what not to do, then that's a different thing. It's not entertainment. That's just research to find out, hey, what could have this person done to prevent what happened? These police killing these people in the cars and everything, and killing people in the streets. Like, you watch the videos, you analyze like what went wrong. That's different. You know what I'm saying? That's different. But if you're getting entertained by violence, there's something wrong. Something is off. But being entertained by track and field, cycling, gymnastics, that's something of beauty. Swimming, then I say that you're there, you're mentally there, spiritually you're there. But once you get into the combat sport and you see all this stuff going on, people getting hurt, and you're getting a high off of that, I say there's something wrong. And I love the martial arts, but I don't like that. I don't like combat sport. I hate combat sport. But I love martial arts. I think there's very few people out there like that. I think most people out there, if they like martial arts, then they also like combat sport. If they love martial arts, then they also love combat sport. They see the both to be the same, but for me, I don't see it to be the same. To me, they're pretty much opposite. Very opposite. And expressing my ideas on why I dislike combat sports so much should more clearly express what the difference between combat sport and martial arts is. They are very different. And I think there's just a lot of people who just don't understand what martial arts is. And that's what the problem is. They just don't understand. It's not that they're bad people, they just don't understand. Because there's people that literally think, you know, that Bruce Lee is the father of MMA. But that clearly is not the case. You know, Bruce Lee is the father of Jeet Kune Do. And if you don't know the difference between Jeet Kune Do and MMA, then you got a lot of learning to do. So, competing with time will always, no matter what, provide you with endless challenges until you die. You know, and in one way or another, we're all competing with time. Trying to live longer, trying to stay young, trying to move faster. And we're just looking for a way to motivate ourselves to improve. All we gotta do is look within ourselves. If we're gonna compete, then just compete with ourselves. There's no one to beat other than ourselves. And this is heading towards the teachings of Buddha and Eastern philosophy. You know, a lot of it is just looking within yourself, finding the truth within. It has nothing to do with the people around you. And I think there's a lot that could be learned from these Olympic athletes. It doesn't really come by too often, every 4 years. But grasp this opportunity to learn from somebody like Usain Bolt, who at this moment is probably one of the most famous athletes out there. And look at his expression. What is he doing? All he's doing is running. And then compare him to those thousands and millions of fighters out there who are doing everything that they can to get your attention by hurting other people. I'm telling you, these people, these fighters, are not worth your attention.